So every time I tried to unalive myself, I was under the influence. I was in a situation where I just felt nobody cared. And I just didn't want to be here. Alcohol is a depressant. A lot of people don't realize that it actually impacts the neurotransmitters of your brain.
Okay.
So you're never able to, as an alcoholic for 30 years. And so every time you would drink, and I tell people, when you drink, it's not just that your body is dehydrated. You've put your body in a state of depression.
Kenneth Reddick Jr., better known as Sober Scooter these days. He is now 3.5 years sober, which is an incredible feat considering what he's gone through. He has survived several suicide attempts and is entirely driven by his mission to serve and help others. I am joined with my brother, Jabari Pride, and I will ask that if you know anyone who is struggling with any kind of addiction, be it alcohol, drugs, send in this episode, share it with them. Reach out to the Brothers Brunch Foundation. What I love about Scooter, he is a very humble person, and his approach is, I've been where you are, and I can tell you my story, and we can rely on my pain as a beacon to guide you out of your tunnel in your darkness. Welcome to Manhood Matters. Let's get to it.
In the living room, finds his voice. 4 souls gathered, making a choice. Speak of life's great, no sugar to cope. From a black man's lens, each word a keynote. Mental storms, physical strife, hustling hard, the pulse of life, race love. And the entrepreneurs climb real talk, echoes of fire time. Experts and friends, a powerful blend, tackling issues that never end. From our perspective,
We are back in the building. What's going on, fellas?
What's good? What's good?
Jabari,
Hello, sir.
returning champ. What's up, bro?
Oh, man, it feels so good to be back.
Yeah.
It's been too long.
Every once in a while, you grace us with your presence. I appreciate it, bro.
I mean, I can't come all the time. Then it just wouldn't mean anything.
Yeah, well, that sounded weird. All right. Scooter's been on the show before at the barbershop special that we did.
Yes.
But now he's in the studio with us because I really want to focus on your story, brother. So why don't we start with you introducing yourself and tell us about where you are today, why this moment is special, and what this current foundation that you have going on. Tell us what that's about.
All right. Well, hey, everybody. I am Kenneth Sober Scooter Reddick II. The Sober Scooter came about 3.5 years ago yesterday on 2/2/22.
Nice.
When I entered my sobriety journey. But my passion and my purpose is not just around addiction, but it's also around mental health, which brings about my foundation, which is Brothers Brunch Foundation. Not a time to eat, but be fed mental health and self-care awareness. So I focus on black men in the community, breaking the stigma, having us not just focus on the mental challenges, but focusing on our mental health fitness so that when those challenges do come to us, which we all know a lot of black men, we have a lot of challenges that could be internal, that could be external with our families, or it can be in the communities. So part of it is building us to be better mentors for, first of all, ourselves, but then for our families, and ultimately being able to do more work out here in the community to help others and be the mentors and men that we should be. And one of the things I say that's gotten me here today, even as a guy I met about a couple of years ago and we've stayed connected. And one of the things he told me was, you got to put your oxygen mask on first. Yeah. So I've learned to put my oxygen mask on by, first of all, taking care of myself. Mm-hmm. So that's where we are. We're doing a lot in the community.
Yeah.
We also now at my son's school got a dad's opening doors. So even the first day of school, you have dads out there opening the doors for the kids.
Nice.
Because I truly believe that you can have other organizations come in and do different things in different settings throughout the community. But if you truly get the dads involved, as my principles for Brothers Brunch Foundation, a PCP, positive, consistent, and present, we can do some positive things. But if there's no consistency, there's no presence. Yeah. And that presence starts with self.
So what you're doing with the community is super amazing because
Thank you.
You know, I know I've talked to you in the past. I know about your involvement, sacrificing a lot of your personal time. And I know even with a conversation that I had with you the first time we even talked, he went right into counselor mode because, you know, he was asking, was just like, how are you doing as a person? And I told him, I was like, wow, not great today. And he went right into it, you know, just again, being totally selfless. But I want to go back a little bit. I want to go back to the story. You know, how did you become Superman? I want to know how you got your superpowers. What were you addicted to?
Alcohol. I was an alcoholic for 30 years. And I want to just say real quick, you know, it's interesting that you mentioned my superpowers because I literally yesterday was working on a presentation about Black man, what is your superpower? So this is right on time.
There you go.
You know, my addiction started when I hit college, which I believe happens with a lot of young folks. You know, we get to college, we try different things. Sometimes it's earlier. But if we look at the mental health challenges, because the other thing that I didn't mention earlier is I did attempt to unalive myself 3 times.
I want to go back to the cause if I could. I'm not going to pretend that I can uncover what that is. I'm guessing you've already done the work.
Yeah. And
so what do you think? We all drank in college.
Yeah.
So, you know, what was it that in your past kind of brought you to that point where you felt you needed to cope that way?
Well, and that was the thing. I mentioned those 3 attempts because I was touching on the mental health challenges that were there that were undiagnosed, unrecognized, which a lot of times happen in our community. Most of the time it happens in our community. So as a child, just growing up, you know, I was very privileged, but I was very smart. So when I got put up in kindergarten to 1st grade, even though I was smarter, I was smaller. And also that means that my mind, technically, even though I could read and do everything very well, my emotional mindset was not ready.
Your EQ was much lower than your IQ.
Yeah. And so being that little guy that didn't get picked by the best friends or whomever on the teams, you know, I remember even as a child getting upset about certain things, running and hiding behind the bleachers and crying and all kind of stuff. You know, I never recognized that until I got sober. You know, I never realized that these were things as much as I had a privileged life. And when I was in middle school and somebody called me out of my name, said that somebody want to dance with this N-word, I never realized how that shaped my mindset. And so when we talk about adverse childhood experiences, everything doesn't have to be so dramatic.
Okay.
And so I coped with alcohol because once I got to college, I thought that was a way to fit in. I thought that that was a way for me to deal with my problems. And that's why I was saying the attempts to unalive, because that was the first time that it happened where there should have been some type of a recognition or diagnosis then, but it wasn't.
So the first time was in college?
The first time was in college, yes.
Can you tell us about that a little bit?
Well, it was a situation where I felt everybody was upset with me. You know, I truly realized that, and this can kind of tie into it too, of something that I didn't realize. My accountability partner about a year or so ago sent me something about approval addiction. So I was addicted to getting everyone's approval because I was thinking I was still that little man. And so anytime I would get upset or something, then I would feel as though the world didn't like me. And so this was one of those times where it was a situation where I did something wrong. Everybody was kind of upset with me, and I just thought that I had lost everybody. My accountability partner, too, that learned me very well after I did a presentation last month, she said, you know, she used to tell me that it seemed like I was that child that when I would get upset, I'd pick my toys up and leave. But that was that approval addiction. Because anytime little Scooter would get hurt, I would drink more, I would do whatever, you know, and then, like I say, there were just several times where I just felt that nobody cared. You know, I didn't please everybody. People pleaser.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when people weren't pleased with what I did, it would just take me into these slumps and depths of depression that I never identified them as depression. But then it was also because I'm technically diagnosed bipolar depressed. Some of that drinking was part of that hypomania, because especially when I went to the strip club, spent plenty of money. You know, so that hyper spending, hypersexuality, are those sorts of things that are undiagnosed that are also addictions. And then, we have to be honest, addiction is a trait as well. So we have to look at family history, and it may skip a generation, or, my dad drank and stuff in college. I didn't see my dad drink, but I learned more about his drinking patterns. We have to look at our grandparents. And one thing I say with that is when we have certain things that happen with us or even our kids, we have to understand that we're all seeds, and seeds are planted in us. So a lot of times it's not the externals that we have to figure out. It's that internal seed. And I literally just had a conversation with my son, my 8-year-old, about this, literally, exactly about drinking and seeds that he looks like me, so he's going to act like me.
Okay.
So I've learned more through my work with my nonprofit and my dad being my COO, things that he would share that I realize now that there were certain traits about things I just didn't see it, because he healed sooner than I did on my life's journey.
Hey, you brought up mental fitness earlier. What do you mean by that?
Well, every time we say mental health in the Black community, everybody want to say ain't nothing wrong with me.
Yeah.
But the reality is, it's just like going to the gym. If you go to the gym and you working out and your homeboy come up and grab you and be like, come on, man, you might be able to shake him off because you've been working out. But if you haven't been working out, you can't shake him off as quick. It's just like your mind. If we don't take care of our mental health and continue to remain mentally fit, when these challenges come, I tell people, I may get down, but I don't get stuck. Because we all suffer at different times from different levels of depression or anxiety or those sorts of things. But some of us have tougher challenges. But we all have to do the work so that when situations come, grief, depression, all of those things, we have to keep our minds fit so we can shake those things off easier.
That makes sense. So when you're hosting your brunches, is that a time where you're really looking to strengthen that mental fitness as a group?
Exactly. So, and just so you know, it's everybody says because I do the Brothers Brunch, it's not too many actual brunches. It's just called a brunch because it's time to get fed.
Got it.
So we do have those discussions, and that's one of the things that I'm big on is even at self-care. So just to give you an idea of what I'm talking about, I have 5 principles for my mental health fitness: sleep, breathing, meditation, exercise and activity. And I always joke and say, you ain't gonna find me in not damn gym. I do yoga. I go to chiropractor, physical therapy, all those different things as maintenance.
Yeah.
And then last but not least, therapy. Because therapy is therapeutic, not problematic. We all need someone with a non-emotional connection to just debrief on life on a regular basis. But the reality is we think that I don't need no therapist. It's not a need. It's like a life coach. That's what my 8-year-old son has been proactively in therapy, because that actually helps me be less stressful, because I could help him navigate based on what the therapist might recommend versus me projecting my traumas on him based on what I think is best.
That is so profound and so well thought out. I mean, I have these conversations with people all the time, and I'm like, damn it, if I can go back 15, 20 years and just parent my kids better, because this is one example right there. I have a 10-year-old, and it's interesting because, I was driving her back home yesterday to her mom, and we're on the road for about 5.5 hours. We just talked.
Yeah.
And most of what we talked about was just, hey, how are you feeling about going to school, your new friends, new teachers? And she was just like, I'm a little nervous, I'm a little anxious. And I just let her open up. And it's amazing because my previous self, I don't know, 5 years ago even, would have been like, I do most of the talking because I'm trying to fix it. I'm trying to just be this, I'm here to kind of mend whatever issues you think you're having. Don't worry about it. I was in your shoes. But this time I was just like, tell me more about this. Tell me more about that. I was so shocked. And they do a much better job than we give them credit for at that young age.
They do. And
if you allow them to.
Yeah. And allow them to. We want them to be quiet, and we want them to listen.
Yeah.
Because we know what's best for our child. No, we don't. That's why I have a therapist, because if I think I know to make a decision, I will ask the therapist, hey, do you think that his best for his age group? Do you think that this is best for his development so far? And see, that's mental health fitness already with my son. When I talk about with the brothers, like 3 years in a row, I've done a Black man's holiday relaxation with Salt Cave, Oxygen Bar, and those sorts of things. But 2 weeks ago, my son say, hey, Daddy, we haven't been to the Oxygen Bar and the Salt Cave. Mental health fitness already there.
Yeah.
You know, at night, Daddy, I'm finna turn on the music, meditation music at night. You know, those are the things that, as I say, and when I work with the dads and the kids, because we did a dads and kids vision board party as well, what I say is we're bridging the generational gap of mental health awareness. Because just like Stefan just said about listening to his daughter, we did a black men's wellness retreat, age 59 to 21. And one of the young men said at the retreat, you all put a new meaning on Ankh because you're listening. How many times, if you think about us, did we feel as though no one was listening? That's that mental health fitness. Because even working with my child, that heals me from certain frustrations or certain traumas or certain thoughts that I may have had, because I'm learning that, you know what, hey, he's right. That's okay.
So I feel like there's definitely a huge difference between the different generations. I'm assuming we're all about the same age.
Come on with the question, young man.
Young blood. I'll say it slow because you guys are old. You might not be able to follow. But like our grandparents, you think about like from that generation to our parents' generation to our generation, just how we talk to kids, how they disciplined us. Like, I mean, I'm sure we all got the belt growing up, right? But I mean, like now, like kids, like, I'm not taking off my belt. You know, like it's more conversations, like, right? It's mental health. There's a lot more awareness around it. Our generation now and the younger generation, we're more quick to have conversations and figure out like what's going on, because and I don't know if it's the awareness of like all the bad stuff that we see. Maybe it's always been there, but you don't hear about it because social media is a big thing now.
Yeah.
So it's like no one wants their kid to be that kid that's on the news for something crazy, because then that's reflected on you as well. So the age groups that you work with, right? I know that you do the kids and you do adults separately. Do you do them at the same time?
Well, and you know, that's always interesting because I really don't work with kids directly most of the time. Most of the time is with the dads.
Okay.
Because just what you said, we have to bridge that gap.
Yeah.
And I could work with the kids, but when they go home, if there's no consistency, then what happens? And I think that that's what we run into, because you mentioned about how we've been parented. Everybody's not healed from that parenting, and they're just projecting that on their kids. So when I do work with the youth, and mainly that's at the school, unless it's somebody in high school that somebody reaches out to me for, but I'm mainly focused on, you know, college age on up. I really would prefer to have the dads or a parent even involved, because I'm technically now certified as a peer specialist for mental health in general, but also parents. So even when people ask me about working with their child, I have to take a step back and say, okay, well, we're going to have some conversations too.
Yeah.
Because I need you to understand that the parenting that may have been taking place may not be, because take, for instance, you work with a child, then they do something a week later, then it's like they either throwing you up as in, well, you know, Mr. Reddick told you such and such, why you doing? Then that breaks a trust boundary there, that the child looks at me as not a part of their team, but the parents. But then also, I need the parent to understand that just because I talk to your child once or twice, that doesn't mean that your child is going to be up and ready and going. I call it a holistic approach with a W, because there's so much money and different things that are even put into programs for our youth. But there may be an N of one or two that are kind of like the poster kids, because the parents aren't necessarily involved.
Yeah.
So the way that we truly increase the N for mental health awareness, mental health fitness, and decrease in mental health challenges is a holistic approach. And that's where I focus on.
And when you're putting together your approaches, do you ever have to make adjustments for like the range of people that show up? Because if you have multi-generation people there, like we were talking about earlier, like you may not be able to talk to a 60-year-old the same way you can talk to a 22-year-old, right?
Thing about it is, like I say, because I don't really have to worry about the kids most of the time, you know, that's usually specific. You'd be surprised at the conversations when I have people that are in the room or on a call of 19 to 79. But the great thing about it is the elders love to hear the younger people and to understand. But it's the environment that has been set by Brothers Brunch Foundation, and not that it's for the younger people to come in to just get fed by the older, because we learned so much from the young men, but we had to learn to listen.
Yeah, I found that's true. Even recently, I've had conversations, like I said, with my own kids, with my son. Did a podcast recently here where myself and my son talked to another father and his son. And then we heard what they had to say in terms of what we did right, what we did wrong, what we could have done better, what they are taking from us to their families when they have children of their own. And it was eye-opening, man.
Yeah.
It's kind of tough to be like, you look at your son and go, hey, is anything that I did that you're going to carry with you? What are you going to reject? And for your son to be super honest and be like, well, I'm not doing that shit. You know? And you're like, damn, yeah, I wouldn't do it either right now.
Right.
Back then I did, but I wouldn't do it now. So there's a big difference. And even to your point too, Jabari, when you said earlier, like the way we parent now, you had your kids later. I was a different father at 26. I was ready with the belt.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And that's why when my kids look at my grown kids now who look at my 10-year-old, they go, she gets away with murder. She just, or they'll see me sit there and talk to her and reason with her, and they go like, are you kidding me?
Right.
That's not what you did with me.
Right.
Whoop
Yeah,
ass.
right.
I'm like, no, it's
Different
different.
day. It's a different day.
I'm like, no, it's a different day. I would have done the same thing if I had known better, you know, and she's not worse off for it. She's
Yeah.
better off for it.
Yeah.
But you were a kid parenting kids.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You don't know this when you're in your 20s. You swear you're grown. You know
No.
everything.
You don't.
And I gotta say, you know, I think that women in their 20s are more like us in our late 30s.
Oh, 100%.
Right? So it's like you said, living for others, seeking that approval, and I'm having children, and I think I know what I'm doing.
Right.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Yeah. And you know what? And one of the things that you just mentioned about is the change, because I have one that's 25 as well.
Yeah.
So, you know, I mean, having one later, I stopped drinking with my son. Well, I had my last binge the day after my son's 5th birthday. So it's one of those things too that through healing, and that's what I want to say to you, Steph, is there's probably some healing that's taking place as well that has allowed your mind to be more refreshed when making decisions. I tell people, you can't cuss, fuss, or beat you out your child.
I love that line.
Yeah, that's a good one.
And then,
Did you trademark that yet?
hey, I haven't. You know,
You need
that's
to.
why I
But
need
I'm
to.
going to say officially here on the Man Who Matters podcast, that is Scooter's
Hey.
line.
Yes. And the thing about it is, when those, we're going to go old school, when those whoopings do take place, is that truly frustration with them or frustration with self? Because if we are in a better mindset and able to be refreshed already in our mind, when that child has something that happens, it frees us up to be able to talk to them rather than react out of frustration to them.
So what about the argument that his badass just needed a whooping because he did X, Y, and Z? Is there any validity to that whatsoever? Or do you think that at no point in time should that be, is your philosophy we should never put hands on them no matter what happens because it's a reflection of how we see ourselves within that kid?
Exactly. I have not put hands on my son. A matter of fact, I can't even remember my daughter putting hands on her. Not to say that I hadn't, I just can't remember right. But I can even tell now how I react to him. Now, if he's doing something, I need to grab him or something, I have to do that personal check too to say, okay, do I really need to do this or do I really need to do that?
Yeah.
But it goes back to, and I keep defaulting back to this, mental health fitness. If we're involved, if we're present, if we truly understand our child, then maybe we won't have those frustrations because we're already identifying things that we might need to help navigate. And like you said, Steph, a lot of times that is us seeing us. And that goes back to what I said. We can't take that frustration out on them. We have to make sure that they have the tools, you know, because we think that since we run on the practice, since we do this or that or whatever, that we're there for them. I put a roof over your head. I put food on your table. That's great. That's what we're supposed to do. But do we go in there and sit down and play the game to see what they're playing? Do we ask them when certain things happen, where did you get it from to understand to maybe help them navigate through the situation better?
Well, you know, you have a lot of parents that are absolutely trying, right? Think about the mom and dad. And I don't even want to go into a single parent household. I'm just thinking the mom and dad are both working.
Yeah.
They're coming home. They're gone for 12 hours. You know, they work for 8.5, 9 hours, right? And then there's commute. They get home and they're doing all of these things. They're doing homework and they're trying to pour into that kid. You see the challenge. I guess what I'm getting at is it's easier said than done they are doing all of those things and they are pouring into their kids the best they know how, but there's only so many hours in a day for you to figure out how to also be some type of mental health coach to your kid or be more therapeutic, where it's a lot easier to just correct and reprimand rather than spending an hour in a coaching session with them. Am I making sense?
I see where it could be a challenge.
Okay, and what do you recommend for that? Because that's reality for most people, I think.
Well, first of all, are you taking care of yourself to make sure that you are fit enough to give the energy that is needed? And we have to be intentional about taking care of ourselves. We have to be intentional on using the resources for our kids. When we talk about time, we can talk about money. Let's look at what else we're doing with our time. Do you not have that hour because you got to catch your show? Do you have that hour because you ready to have that drink before you go to bed or go outside and have your smoke? Do you not have the resources to pay for their therapy sessions or something that might be needed? Well, it's covered under insurance, but you don't want to pay the copay because you're going on a vacation. You got to go out with the fellas or you got to have this drink. I think that challenges sometimes are made up by our own actions.
Sometimes.
To be fair.
Yeah.
You know, but it goes back to that old saying, we make time for what we want.
Yeah.
Like even for myself, insurance wise, like I told you about physical therapy and chiropractic and all that stuff, that's a doctor's appointment, but it's truly self-care. That therapy appointment, it's a doctor's appointment, but it's truly self-care. So I say it's a challenge when you haven't utilized the resources that are at hand for us and our families to be well.
And what you're speaking on right now is just having your regular medical benefits and using those to the fullest.
Yes, because see, we use health insurance like car insurance.
What do you mean?
If something go wrong, you pay it every month.
Oh, I see.
And then if something go wrong with your car,
then you go and check it out.
Then you go and check it out. Health insurance are benefits to benefit us and our family. Benefits get us ahead. So when we talk about challenges, we got a lot of benefits to help us prevent certain challenges in life that we don't utilize. So that's why I say, yeah, some may have some true challenges, but this challenge might be the challenge that you didn't use the resources for everybody to be well.
Yeah.
So that's why I try to remove some of the things. And, I always speak from a peer, as of what has worked for me and how I'm better. And I know different people do have different challenges, but at the end of the day, if we don't utilize our resources, everything can be a challenge.
Yeah. Scooter, I want to take it back a little bit to the making of the superhero. I want to go back to that. And I know it could be challenging. And if it is, just let me know. You talked about 3 attempts. You talked about the first one in college. Mm-hmm. What led to the other 2? How did you survive the other 2? What got you out of that rut that you were in? And what got you through the time period from the last attempt all the way to 3.5 years ago to when you became sober?
The sense of hopelessness, I talked about the approval addiction, the sense of addiction. Alcohol is a depressant. A lot of people don't realize that it actually impacts the neurotransmitters of your brain.
Okay.
So you're never able to, as an alcoholic for 30 years, my mood was never regulated. And so every time you would drink, and I tell people, when you drink, it's not just that your body is dehydrated. You've put your body in a state of depression. And that's what I never was able to push through.
Yeah.
Was continually putting my body in a state where my mind, my mood was never regulated. I could easily slip into depression. I mean, I used to go down for like a week sometimes. And depending on what it was that had triggered me, fear of being in trouble because of alcohol and a situation I might have gotten in, and I just thought I wouldn't get out of it, and it was the only way. As my dad said one time, every time I drank, I didn't get in trouble. But every time I got in trouble, I was drinking. Mm-hmm. So every time I tried to unalive myself, I was under the influence. I was in a situation where I just felt nobody cared. And I just didn't want to be here.
Yeah.
And so 3.5 years ago, when I went on my last binge and I ended up at the inpatient unit, my dad had always told me, son, pray that the taste be removed from your tongue. So mine was that true spiritual awakening that a power greater than myself restored me to sanity. Now I'm not an AA'er. I haven't been in about 15 years.
I was going to say, so what happened 3.5 years ago. Is that what you're about to go into?
Yeah. So I went out on my last binge for 3 days. Ended up going to see an old friend after I came off the binge. I don't know why I know why, but God led me there. You know, I was sitting next to a homeless guy at my old liquor store, you know, drinking, getting cussed out. And then I just went by the old apartment. And then I got a call from my psychiatrist that I didn't realize I was supposed to have an appointment that day. I'm thinking somebody had done called her, tracked her down. And she said, "What's going on?" I said, "I've been out on the bench for the past 3 days." I said, "I think I need some help." She said, "What's stopping you?" I said, "Nothing." So we called my daughter on the phone on three-way, and my daughter came to get me and took me to the detox center, inpatient. And one of the things, too, was that first day that I woke up there and I saw the doctor, my blood pressure was 163/103.
Is that good or bad?
Man,
That sounds horrible.
that stroke. People in there like, man, how you even walk around with this?
Oh, wow.
You know, and I truly believe that my journey and my testimony at that point, I needed to see what the inside was like so that I can be able to relate to people like now when I go and I speak at the inpatient units every Tuesday. That's what God had destined for me. Mm-hmm. For that to be the end of my journey. And that date was 2/2/22. The 4 2s represent the sign of the angels, peace and adversity, change in your life. So a lot of times it's kind of tough for me to explain exactly what or how I got through because God brought me through at that particular date. But I realized that I had to be present for myself. I never did that. I was always trying to save people, always trying to please people. So what really got me to the point to make that difference was, number one, I stopped drinking and I started to learn who Scooter was. I was very successful. I was 25-year pharmaceutical rep, executive sales rep, platinum performer. As a black man, built 2 brand new houses in his lifetime. But I wasn't happy. I didn't know that because everybody loved Scooter. Everybody wanted Scooter to be here, there. But it was almost like I was being a monkey in everybody's circus. And I never even said that before, but as I think more about it, that's pretty much how it was. Because now I don't go out, I don't do things like I used to because I'm happy and I'm pleased with me and I'm at peace with myself because I found my true purpose.
Were you spiritual prior to that moment 3 years ago?
I'm more spiritual now.
Right.
I was more religious then.
Okay.
I mean, I grew up in the church. Now I may sit and look at 3 different services and receive what I need to for my spirit.
Right.
So I didn't worry about spending the time now, even though I am a member of a church, but it's not like I feel as though I got to find the right church because I am more spiritual now. Do I love to go in for fellowship? Yeah. Like I said, I went today.
Yeah.
But I watched 2 services before that. So that's why I say it's a difference between spirituality and religion because religion can be a divide, which brings about a whole nother mental level of stress.
Yeah, that's a whole other subject. But I was
On the
asking,
podcast.
I was asking because you have people that when they're at that point where they need to make that leap, right, from addiction to sobriety, sometimes they need that extra thing, that thing that you can place your finger on. It's the divine. It's something else. And I guess I'm asking, if they don't have that, what do you recommend? Because not everybody's from that place. Some people are atheists and they're struggling with that and they're still good people. You mentioned that you felt a calling pull you through, so how does someone else who doesn't have that cope in that situation?
Well, it's always a tough question because everybody's healing journey is different. And that's one thing is, if you talk to a clinician, they might give you advice. If you talk to a peer, I'm more of a person that helps navigate through my lived experiences.
Yeah.
And so what I'd say to that is we've been programmed anyway, mind, body, spirit. In that hierarchy, the spirit is last.
Well, that's upside down.
Thank you. That's what I was going to say. It should be spirit, mind, body.
Yeah.
I know I think on the previous podcast we were on, we had somebody even say, well, why is the spirit and mind separate? Because I mentioned this before. But, once we get out our minds and stop trying to figure everything out, then that lowers the stress level some. And therefore, I don't have that impulse to drink. So I would say that for anyone, and I don't don't get into debating who your higher power is when it comes to addiction and sobriety.
Right.
Just as long as you're listening to the spirit and not the spirits, then I think that there can be some forward progress.
Yeah.
But we have to truly remove those things that are hindering us from having a clear mind so that we can truly listen to the spirit. Now, what I do recommend to people is because number one is that sleep. Most of the times when you're going through these things, the main thing you say, I'm just tired. I'm just tired. And we really are tired. So once we start to sleep and get that rest, that's one angle. But then also when I talked about that meditation, what are we doing to soothe our minds to not be as stressed so that we don't drink, so that we don't use drugs, so that we don't go to porn? I mean, that's a whole nother, that could be a whole nother conversation, but we're talking about addiction and how do we move past addiction.
Right.
And then it's always being around those people that have made it through, and be careful of who you speak with, because those that haven't gone through it probably don't have the answers.
Sure.
Would it be safe to say, I guess to kind of answer your question, if they don't have that spirit or being that's greater than themselves, to find either a loved one?
Yeah. This conversation right here is a power greater than ourselves.
Yeah.
It could be a peer group.
Mm-hmm.
Accountability.
Yeah. I mean, it could, hey, what the script, whatever two or more join together. I mean, it done just find something that is greater than you trying to go through it by yourself.
Correct.
That is going to feed your mind appropriately. So one big thing for me is peer groups as a higher power. So if you want to add directly a suggestion, I'm in 2 to 3 peer groups a week, no matter if I'm leading them or not, mental health, recovery, or whatever.
Yeah.
That goes back to the maintenance and fitness. What I'd work with folks on is making sure that we're putting the right tools and the right agendas, and just making sure that we're consistent.
Are you typically seeking out people or people finding you? How does one get into the foundation?
Well, I mean, some people get referred,
Yep.
but like I said, it's not too many people that I don't meet. Sometimes I meet people 2 or 3 times and they say, remember I met you at, I say, look, I just don't want a brother to be left. I'm a boots on the ground street ministry. I'd rather be going out to barbershops than to be planning an event. Because the reality is, how many people actually come to events a lot of times?
Yeah.
You get the people that are there doing the event. You get the people that are supporting the people at the event. But the people that I want to seek are in the barbershops, maybe even in church, at the gas station. So I'm always seeking people because I never know. I mean, I've got homeless guys off the streets to go to recovery, or at least assist them with something. We are truly
That's powerful, man.
Street ministry. Thanks.
That's really powerful.
Do you have a limited amount of spots? Do you ever fill up, or is it something that where you can handle as many people as need help?
Well, and then the thing about it is that when we talk about the Kickstart, of course, it takes funding, because we've actually paid for men to do therapy, recovery sessions. Just if people, if they say, hey, Scoot, I'm just going through something, I might say, hey, just meet me at the spa. Let's get some oxygen. Let's get some salt cave. So a lot of that work depends on the funding. But I do work with other organizations like Black Men Heal, where if I need to link them up there or something. So, but as of events, I'm not one that tries to fill an auditorium. I'm big on the intimacy, because I don't like to leave where somebody's feeling as though their question wasn't answered. The most I've had probably at an event is maybe 40, but that was a mixed crowd. But most of my men, I try to keep them maybe around 30 at the most, just because I want to make sure that we're able to sit and talk together. In the 3 years I've been doing this, 2 years of official nonprofit, I haven't had a speaker. Everything is about conversations. People say, hey, you want to, I could come in and do a presentation. I say, you come in and be a part of the conversation. If you look at my business card, it says I'm a motivational conversationalist.
That's interesting.
Yeah, because I don't have the answers for you. That's why I don't use the word help. I don't help men, I support them, because I don't have the answers. The answer lies within you most of the time. So once we get in those conversations, I want to make sure that anybody can speak. So is there a limit? No. But am I worried about how many people show up? I've had one person show up 2 different times, and it was one of the most impactful. One of the times we did get a man off the street that night.
Oftentimes when we hear about addiction and someone goes sober, there's a relapse. So what has helped you to keep you on the straight and narrow so you never relapsed?
It's funny. Something just came to my head as I like what I see in this new world. Because I always say coming into sobriety, it's like Dorothy and Toto, we're not in Kansas no more. But I've truly appreciated this peace that I have now. I literally said yesterday, I was talking to, that might have been when you called me yesterday, and I was like, man, I said, I ain't never made it to 3.5 years before. I said, It's his feeling. It feels good. And now that I can truly see my purpose ahead, but just take a glimpse at my past and not be stuck there. It gives me just enough glimpse to know, Scooter, you don't want to go back there. You feeling too good now. Scooter Trey is seeing you. Scooter Trey says, my dad is 3 years alcoholic free. My daddy stopped drinking when I was 5.
Yeah. Sorry, brother.
No, don't be sorry, man. This is what we have to do, man.
It's all right.
This is what we have to do. My son can say, my daddy stopped drinking when I was 5 years old.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing.
I don't want to. I took my oldest through enough that now we can sit down on Tuesdays and she just texts me early, are we still on for Tuesday? I can meet her for lunch and we talk about me and her.
Yeah.
Things that I was there, but I wasn't present.
Yeah.
I don't want to lose that presence. I don't want to lose that presence to myself. I don't want to lose that presence to my family. But I had to surrender. Like I said, we were just talking about Christian religion. I don't want to say God, but I always say when people say, Scooter, you doing this? I say, God did. Because I realized that this thing is greater than me. And when we find our purpose, we find our peace. And I stopped chasing everything else in the world. That external would kill us, man. And I did it for a long time, trying to get to a certain status, trying to do certain things. But now I don't have all that anymore. But I'm at peace.
So someone going through what you went through all these years, I think what I'm hearing you say is the way they find their strength and the way they find a way to stay on the path is to look at what they're becoming and their purpose and who they are in that moment and not be stuck and be triggered by things of the past.
Yeah, and just like you mentioned that triggering is lessened when healing is increased.
Say that again.
Triggering is lessened when healing is increased. We become triggered because there's something inside that's still there that causes us to react that way. So that's another part of how I'm able to stay where I am. Because I realized that healing is not a destination. Healing is a continuous journey of life. And I have to continue to do the work so that I can continue on this healing journey so I won't be triggered, so I won't drink. So that triggering is very important because most of the time is when we trigger that gives us those setbacks that ends us back up in the trap of life. It's in us. Okay, so the work has to be done within. You can't fix that. You can't do this. You got to have that healing that comes within. That's what's going to cause a lot of pain to at least be lessened. And you say I'm careful with the words. I didn't say diminish. I don't say stop. I say lessen because there's still going to be things that may be there.
Yeah.
But like I said, it's the magnitude. So let's magnify the healing and stop magnifying the issues.
Right. You mentioned a few times already, everybody else is welcome, but you focus on black men. Now, when we talk about the challenges that black men face as far as mental health, how is that different than anyone else?
Well, the seeds that we have in us, the seeds that go back to slavery, that are unhealed, that have been birthed and birthed and birthed and birthed for generations.
Yeah.
We like the caged eggs in the grocery store.
Okay.
Everybody want the uncaged eggs because you don't have the stress and hormones of being in that cage. We the caged eggs. We got those stresses and hormones that just keep being birthed and passed along.
Yeah.
So until we heal, and that's why I have my son proactively in therapy.
Yeah.
And like I told him, I don't want you to have certain things that daddy may not have done right that are birthed into you. It's 5 to 6 generations of unhealed birth trauma.
At least.
At least.
Yeah. Plus what we face.
And that's the thing. And then when you think about the externals that we have to deal with, we can't deal with the externals that's going on until we get some healing on inside. We just talked about that triggering, right? Mm-hmm. So we keep getting triggered as black men because we have the seed that's in us. We're faced on what's going on with the externals. So when we react to it based on the unhealing, then we end up in those situations.
What do you have to say to the black women who are listening to this right now are thinking, well, obviously we need healing too. Mm-hmm. But what I'm thinking is they're hearing some of what we're thinking and how to cope with the black men in their lives, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. So what do you have to say to them? For the black women, even to deal with the black man, let's make sure that we are all healing, because there's so much projection on the black man and what they're doing, but I believe that it's a culture that needs to heal. So a black woman can't even assist a black man in healing or even giving grace or understanding if they haven't given themselves grace and done their own healing. Right, because they have their own set of issues.
Exactly. So, that's kind of a difficult question, because it depends on
where they are in their journey,
where the black woman is in their journey, because a black man could be on a healing journey, but then the black woman doesn't want to give grace because she's still hurting.
Yeah.
And I think that's what we face too. There's a certain time when black men being black men and going through and start a healing process, and then the woman may not want to give grace because they haven't healed. But if you are healed
or healing,
yeah, because I did say we're not
journey.
Yeah. Thank you for correcting me on that. Well, that's swift right there. I like that. So I mean, if you are healing with grace of understanding what you have had to go through along your journey to get where you are, give that man that same level of grace. But also, and this question came up about even the approaching people and saying certain things. Let's make sure that we're not only prepared to assist them along their journey, but be prepared to receive whatever response you may get along that journey as well. Because when we help, we're looking for an answer or a solution for them. But when we support them, we're truly trying to understand how they are feeling and what may be the best situation for them.
Also, you need to be prepared to welcome who they're becoming. There's going to be some transformation.
Yeah. I mean, and honestly, that comes in relationships in general. And I can speak very candidly about that, because a lot of people, when I say or do certain things, sometimes their responding or their feelings are about Scooter, not sober Scooter.
Okay.
And that's where I have to coach a lot of people too, in understanding that everybody is not on the same healing journey. And sometimes even on our healing journeys through things that may have happened, we might have peeled a scar off a wound to somebody. And through that part, we have to understand that, and this goes for the black men too, that are healing, because we were talking about it, black women understand it, but we have to understand that when we start healing, everybody's not going to understand where you are on your healing. And that could be very triggering too. Mm-hmm. So the black man has to understand that she may not be where I am, and I can't let that hold me back from my progress, because I have to put my oxygen mask on first.
Yeah.
But the woman or whoever is dealing with that person in that relationship has to understand that I'm seeing a brand new person evolve. Scooter, sober Scooter. I am a brand new person. I've totally been reinvented.
Yeah.
And everybody has to understand. And as one person told me, everybody has to understand that when it comes to that fork in the road where somebody's making that change, everybody can't go.
Yeah.
That could be a spouse, that could be a child, that could be a community. It could be anyone.
Yeah.
But that's a part of that healing journey. And you have to not just give the grace in the wrong, but you got to give that grace in the progress.
Nice.
You mentioned earlier that your foundation is a nonprofit, right? So anyone listening, if they wanted to donate, that'd be a tax write-off, correct?
Oh, yes, it would be. It would
Throw
be.
that out there.
Hey, a matter of fact, on my soberversary yesterday, I said, hey, it's 42 months. If anybody wants to donate $42, It was 1,227 days. I said, if anybody wants to, hey, be definitely, appreciative and grateful. They can do that, So yes, it is a nonprofit, and so we do operate on grants, donors, sponsors. We're always looking for monthly donors, as we have men that need therapy, men that may need self-care at different times. Me also being a mental health peer coach, I also do individual coaching sessions with some of them. So,
and how would they reach out to you or the foundation to make sure that you received?
First of all, we are on Givelify. That's our main.
What is that?
But a lot of people don't know about Givelify. Yeah. But the link is on my website. But Givelify is a nonprofit donation site where if there's a nonprofit that you're interested, that is registered, you just go in. A lot of churches on it, different nonprofits. But on the website, www.brothersbrunchfoundation.com. You just go to the website, click on the link to donate, and it would be greatly appreciated. Yes.
Where else can we find you?
Brothers Brunch Foundation Inc. on Instagram, as well as Facebook. We are on YouTube, building up that site as well. And like I say, the website, Instagram, Facebook, hey, you can find me. If you need to, look up Sober Scooter. Sober Scooter pops up too.
Hey kids, like and subscribe.
Yep. Hey,
Any final words from you, brother?
I just want to say, first of all, thank you all for having me here. I'm truly grateful. I'm always willing to share my testimony because I never know who's listening, and it might help. This can be done. Addiction can be overcome. Mental health challenges can be lessened. But don't forget, you got to take care of yourself first. Self-care is not selfish. Sobriety is not selfish. And always remember to put your oxygen mask on first.
That's what's up, man.
I want to say thank you for sharing. I can tell a big part of your message was to take care of yourself first, but obviously when you're talking about your son and your children, I could tell that that's another big reason why you did what you did or had to do what you did.
Yeah. I mean, my family's my why. I can say that, and that's what keeps me going. A lot of reels I do that song, keep going. And that's all I think about is just, hey, keep going, because there's many times when I didn't want to keep going. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I talk about myself because if I don't take care of myself, I can't take care of them.
Yeah.
All right. Traditionally, when we end the show, you know this. You've heard the show. And I flipped the coin earlier when you weren't here and you lost, Scooter. See, that's how that went.
Of course. Wasn't no coin.
So I got the outro notes. You just got to read the outro notes and do an impression of whoever you want. Who are you going to be, Scooter?
I guess I'm going on ahead and do the Bill Cosby.
All right. Cosby Show.
All right. You ready?
Yeah, we're ready.
Please support us by following the show. Leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. Thank you so much for listening. We'll catch you next week when we share conversations surrounding real issues we deal with every day. Manhood matters. Don't forget your pudding pops. We're out.
There you go.
That was good. You had to throw in the pudding pop.
Yeah, you had to throw in the pudding pop. A quick message, as always. The reason we do this show is for educational and entertainment purposes only. We are not therapists, and we don't claim to be. If you are struggling with anything, especially given the nature of this particular episode, please reach out to a licensed therapist, doctor, or any other organization that is qualified to help you deal with your issues. But we do send you our love and our strength. Talk to you guys next week.